Breaking news. The Texas offense did not need this. It's going to be a difficult training camp.
That was big sauce. Yes, sir.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Big Sarge here. Day 4 of Texans training camp is complete, but I'm not here for that. That's something that we'll get into a little bit later on. We'll get into a Texas happy hour and we'll recap what happened on day 4 of the Texas training camp. But so as practice wrapped up and as everybody was heading home, the news broke. The news broke that Texans running back Joe Mixon will be out for an extended period of time. It has been reported and confirmed that Joe Mixon will be out for an extended period of time. Let me go ahead and read this. This is from Ian Rappaport. It says Texas running back Joe Mixon, who is on the non-football injury list, is expected to be out an extended period of time with a frustrating foot injury. Sources say the Pro Bowler coming off a 1,000-yard season will be reevaluated closer to the season to determine his availability. So once again, according to Ian Rappaport, and confirmed by Houston Chronicles Jonathan M. Alexander, running back Joe Mixon, 2024 Pro Bowler, 1,000-yard rusher from last season, will be out an extended period of time. Now, you remember on day 1, Joe Mixon was placed on the non-football injury list. And, when you see someone placed on the non-football injury list, you don't think that it's that severe. Now, even though we know that Joe Mixon has been dealing with this foot injury for, even though we know Joe Mixon has been dealing with this foot injury for an extended period of time, we always thought that he would be back. We thought that he would be able to, to return sometime, probably like within the second or third week of training camp. Definitely by the time that they went to West Virginia, we thought that we'd be able to see Joe Mixon, back on the field. He just celebrated his birthday the other day. We seen it was all on, social media. Different people were wishing him a happy birthday. We also seen him inside of the training room. We seen him and running back Damian Pierce, who is on the physically unable to perform list. JJ Taylor is on that list. Damian Pierce is on that list as well. And so you don't think that it's that big of a deal. D'Amico Ryans was asked on day 1 about Joe Mixon and his injury and when he'll be able to return. And he said, well, Joe was just placed on the non-football injury list. This was Wednesday. He said Joe was placed on the non-football injury list. And, however long that's going to take, then, he'll be back from that. So I don't know if D'Amico even knew the full extent of the injury at that time, but we just found this out. Like I said, Ian Rappaport just reported that 2024 Pro Bowl running back for the Houston Texans, Joe Mixon, will be out an extended period of time. They're looking and saying that he's going to be reevaluated, and he may not be able to come back to closer to the season. So, with that being said, we won't have an opportunity. We won't have an opportunity to find out, or to ask D'Amico Ryans on the record until Monday, because the Houston Texans are off on Sunday, and come Monday they put the pads on and then they will resume practice. But we won't have an opportunity. I just got home. I came right in, hopped right on here. I came in after the news broke and came right here so I could tell you all what was going on and what was being reported, how it's being confirmed, and real quickly how I feel like it's going to affect the Houston Texans. And so, like I said, we're just finding out this information. By the time the happy hour, when we come back to do the Texans happy hour, I should be able to have more information for you. But because this is so new and because we just found this out, I wanted to make sure that I came right here and started to talk to you all about this. So Joe Mixon being out an extended period of time is not a good thing for the Houston Texans. It is, but it isn't, right? There's pros and there's cons to this thing. But bottom line is you're installing a new offense, right? You're installing a new offense. And not only are you installing a new offense, you also have new offensive linemen that has been added to the Houston Texans. And so, you know, by just sitting back and looking at it and being in the film room and watching on film and, looking at your playbook, that's one thing. But not having Joe Mixon for an extended period of time, especially when there's still so many questions along that offensive line. The playbook, cool. He may be able to, that may be a plug and play situation for him. That may be a plug and play situation for Joe Mixon, to come into Nick Caley's system. But the difficult part and the difficult thing is going to be for Joe Mixon is he's going to take him some time to get acclimated to running behind. And let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, this is what the offensive line is going to look like. Starting offensive line is going to look like. If you have left tackle Cam Robinson, left guard Laken Tomlinson, center Jarrett Patterson, right guard Titus Howard, and right tackle Blake Fisher. Right? So Joe's never played with that left side of the line. He knows Titus. He knows Blake. Maybe some of that continuity from last season can kick in and they can, run to that side a little bit more till he can get acclimated to what Cam and Laken is going to do on this backside. But training camp is for the team continuity to be able to come together and to build heading into training camp. Of course, Joe Mixon has been in the league 9 years. He's been in the league 9 years. He's been he's a Pro Bowl running back. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's not some rookie or he's not some second year player that's on the sidelines and won't be able to come in and contribute. But with the way that everything is going, everything that's happening with that offense and Nick Caley and those new offensive linemen, and plus, even if that we talked about that starting five that I would say would be right now, and then you got, if something happens, you got these other guys. Training camp is an opportunity for you to get back and see, okay, so if they got to put Ariante Ursery at the right tackle, then cool. Joe needs to be there because of the mixing and the matching so he can get used to the tendencies. Now, we know that he can't be there. We know that Joe Mixon can't be there because he's injured. But this is the time, and this is some of the worst news for the Houston Texans. And I'm going to tell you why. Another reason why. For those of you all who are just joining, Ian Rappaport has reported and has been confirmed by Jonathan M. Alexander from the Houston Chronicle that Joe Mixon, who was placed on the non-football injury list on Wednesday, day one of Houston Texans training camp, will be out an extended period of time. He's going to be reevaluated, and they say he probably won't be. They're looking closer to week 1 against the Rams, against their first game against the Los Angeles Rams out in Los Angeles. And that's not what the Houston Texans needed. Because now you're going to be asking a lot of Nick Chubb. And I'm not here to say that Nick Chubb can't do it, but Nick Chubb is coming off of injury. Nick Chubb is with a new team. Nick Chubb is also learning a new offensive system. And so that means that he's going to have to get a ton of reps throughout training camp. You're almost going to have to play him in these preseason games longer than expected. Because if you think about it, you start off with Joe Mixon, and then you would bring in Nick Chubb, and then you get Nick Chubb a couple of those reps, and then you put him out. And now you let um, Woody Marks and Jawar Jordan and Jawar Jordan and Damian Pierce, if he's healthy, Dare Ugabonwale, British Brooks. It was another running back that what's that other? It was another running back that was out there that yeah, British Brooks. I think that's who. I think that's all. That yeah. So now you're asking Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb going to have to come in. He's definitely going to have to hit the ground running. Now you're going to need at least 80% of 2022 Nick Chubb when he made second team All Pro. Can he do it? Has yet to be seen. Do I think that he has the mindset and the temperament? I do. Do I think that his body can physically hold up? I think it can if they put him in the right position. The coaches speak highly of him, and I'm talking about they speak highly of him off the record as well. But now you're asking Nick Chubb to do a lot. You're depending on a rookie in Woody Marks to do a lot. Jawar Jordan has been getting a lot of touches in training camp, and so now you're going to have to put more on his plate, and he's definitely going to have more game reps in the preseason. So this is a huge setback for the Houston Texans. Like this is a big setback because with the threat of Joe Mixon in the backfield, that's all that would have to keep that's keeping defenses honest, because if you're going to play Nico, it could roll the coverage to Nico and say, okay, so we're going to stop we're going to stop the running game. I mean, stop the passing game, and so we're going to be designing that. And now you got Joe Mixon in the backfield who can break one at any time. But now with him being out, you don't know what type of Joe Mixon you're going to get if he is not healthy and available until week 1. You don't. And the biggest issue is going to be conditioning, one, because he can work out all he wants, but he's not I don't think he's able to run like that until that foot is fully healed. And once that foot is fully healed, then he can try to try to get himself back into game shape. I'm not saying Joe Mixon is out of shape. I'm just saying I don't know if he's in game shape now, because it's been so long since he's done football activities. He hasn't done football activities, and he's going to miss the majority of training camp. And the first time he's going to get some real action is when the season starts, if he's healthy enough then. So with the off day coming on Sunday, they're going to have to make some major adjustments. The Houston Texans offense, Nick Caley and Danny Barrett, they're going to have to put their heads together, and they're going to say, okay, so we know that it's next man up, and it's the next man up mentality. So now we got to see, all right, let's go ahead and have a plan and have a contingency plan, and then have a contingency plan for the contingency plan that's for the plan. Because they're not going to be going up against a top 5 defense all the time. Of course, we know that. They're not going to go up against a top 5 defense like they have on their own team, like they face on a daily basis. But if you don't have a run game, if you don't have some semblance of a run game, if you can't give the impression that you're going to run the ball, you've already taken away half of your playbook. The majority, not the majority, half of your playbook. You've already have put the defense at an advantage. I'm not saying that Nick Chubb can't do it. I'm not saying that Woody Marks can't do it. I'm just saying that you want those two to be contributors, and contribute to the run game after Joe Mixon. You already have a Pro Bowl running back who rushed for over 1,000 yards last season. You already have them. Having Nick Chubb, having Woody Marks, as his backup is is players that can give him, a breather, bring him out of the game, keep him out for a series or two so he can catch his breath, and then put him back in. But now everything has to take that next step up. So whereas, and this is just Big Sarge's depth chart, right? I this isn't the official depth chart. This is just Big Sarge's depth chart. So where you had Joe Mixon and then Nick Chubb and then Woody Marks, where you had those three, and then you had, Dare Ugamawale and Jawar Jordan and British Brooks, Damian Pierce once he's healthy in that other list. But okay, so these three are what we're looking at. So now, if you remove Joe Mixon, that means Nick Chubb has to go up to the one. Woody Marks will go up to the two. Who are you bringing off for three over here? Does Dare go into that slot? Do you give an opportunity to one of those young guys? Do you give Jawar Jordan an opportunity? Do you give British Brooks an opportunity? And either way, what Danny Barrett is left and faced with now is, without Joe Mixon, he's going to have to get a guy who is still new to the team, not new to the NFL, not new to the league, but a guy who is new to the team, who is learning a new offensive system, who suffered back-to-back injuries. So he's coming in and he's going through training camp, getting his body together. You're depending on that, and he does have the experience. He does have the frame. He does have the temperament to do it. You just don't know just yet how he's going to be able to do it with the Houston Texans. You've seen him do it with the Cleveland Browns. You haven't seen him do it with the Houston Texans. And then you have a rookie who is still learning the ins and outs of being an NFL player. So, for those of you all who are just joining us, it has been reported by Ian Rappaport and confirmed by Jonathan M. Alexander from the Houston Chronicle that Joe Mixon, 2024 Pro Bowler, who rushed for over 1,000 yards with the Houston Texans on last season, will be out for an extended period of time with the foot injury. And the reason why I said that the Texans offense did not need this news is the pads don't come on until Monday. And so what you've seen, they've had 4 training camp practices. Day one was getting reacclimated. 2, they had a real practice. Day 3, the weather pushed them inside of the bubble. Day 4, they were outside and they were doing a couple of more things. They were in front of the fans, but you can still see that it's some things that need to be done. It's some things that needs to be worked out on that offensive side of the ball. And if it's not, let me say this, because I'm not one of them guys that, but I'm not a guy that, oh my God, the sky is falling. I'm not a sky is falling guy. If you followed me, if you follow anything that I've done, you always know that I am not a sky is falling guy. When CJ didn't throw at OTAs, and when CJ didn't throw at minicamp, and the first day at minicamp, I wasn't. You didn't hear me say the sky is falling and something is not right. So I'm not a sky is falling type guy. I'm not saying the house is on fire with this news, with this breaking news of Joe Mixon, being out an extended period of time. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that's a huge blow to that offense. That's a huge blow to a first-year offensive play caller. Whereas Nick Caley probably designed a lot of those plays with Joe Mixon in mind, he doesn't have to scrap those plays. He doesn't have to get rid of those plays. But now, where those plays were drawn up to the strengths of Joe Mixon, now you got to go and you got to reevaluate and find out, okay, so what exactly do we have in Nick Chubb? Because I'm going to have to alter this offense, this run game offense to Nick Chubb. What do we got? What do we got in Woody Marks? He's a rookie. How much can he handle, Danny? How much can we put on his plate? How much can we give him? And you know, just like someone just said in the comments, maybe it'll be the DP show. Well, DP got to get himself back on the field. He's currently on the physically unable to perform list. And let me say this. I will say this. If he if Damian Pierce can get healthy and get himself back on the field, this is a real opportunity for him. This will be a real opportunity for Damian Pierce to impress D'Amico Ryans, Nick Caserio, Nick Cayley. This is your opportunity to impress them and step up and say, I can be the man. I can be the man. You put me in this, you put me in this system. I can be the man. It's gonna be an opportunity if he's able to get back on the field, because he's currently on the physically unable to perform this. But if he can get back on the field, now it's really an open competition at that running back position until Joe Mixon gets back. And even when Joe Mixon gets back, he's going to have to play himself back into where they need him to be, because he's been out for so long. Joe Mixon ain't played football since January. And if he's not coming back until close to September, so that's January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. It's almost 8 months of non-contact, of non-game speed, of no NFL games. 8 months. That is a very, very, very long time. And I don't think that he'll just be able to come right back week one and jump right into the offense and be as effective. It may take 1 or 2 games for him to get, if you're an athlete, right? If you're an athlete, if you know an athlete, any one of them that has been injured, they always tell you, hey, I got to get my body, I got to get my mind and my body back right for the game. I had to get my mind and my body back right for the game. I had an opportunity to speak with Texans linebacker Henry Toa today in an interview, and we were talking about that. And I said, a lot of people think that you have to get yourself ready physically. A lot of people don't take the mental aspect into it. There's a mental aspect to playing the game of football as well, and so you can be physically fit, but mentally, if you're not there, and now you're coming back, and this, nagging injury that was only supposed to take a couple of weeks to heal, now it's to put me out for an extended period of time as a running back. Now, when Joe Mixon comes back, do you think in the back of his mind he's gonna be like, "Am I able to cut? Am I able to explode off of it? What if somebody hits me on there? I was illegally tackled on more than one occasion last season. What if somebody, you know, illegally tackles me from the back and now I fall on that ankle?" A lot of that stuff has to be, in the back of your mind. A lot of those things has to play in the back of a mind of a running back in this game. And so, do I think that Joe Mixon can recover and come back fully healthy? I do. I do. But hey, look, one thing y'all know about me, I always keep it a buck on here, right? I always keep it 100, whether you like what I'm saying or not. A lot of people like what I say, a lot of people disagree with what I say, but I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and then you take it for what it's worth. You do whatever it is you need to do with it. I ain't tripping on that. It don't bother me whether you receive it or reject it. However you take it is how you take it. But I'm gonna say it. I was optimistic for Christian Harris to come back early. And we see how that played out. I was very optimistic last season, hearing how he was working and how he was trying to get himself back. And then have another setback here, have another setback there. He thinks he's ready. The team doesn't think he's ready. And I was just optimistic that we would have seen Christian Harris out on the field way earlier than expected. So I want to be optimistic about Joe Mixon. I want to be optimistic about Joe Mixon coming back and Joe Mixon coming back before the beginning of the regular season. But the thing could also go the other way. And I want you, Texans fans, I want you to have yourself prepared and ready that there could come a point where Joe Mixon may be out throughout the regular season. You've got to get yourself prepared for that, especially with the news today that he's going to be out an extended period of time. Or it could go the other way, and Joe Mixon can come back, be fully healthy, come back in game one and rush for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. It could. It could be 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. I just want you to have an open mind about both situations, about both scenarios. The news just broke. I'm going to get you more information come Monday when we talk to D'Amico Ryans after practice. We're going to ask and we're going to see if we can get more information and see exactly where they are, because they do have an off day before they come back to practice. And so now they'll be able to evaluate and get themselves together and see everything that's going on. So hopefully we'll be able to have a answer, an official answer, or whatever official entails coming from D'Amico Ryans. So this is a huge blow this is a huge blow to that Texas offense, and a huge opportunity for those running backs in that running back room. And it's crazy because Friday I had an opportunity. To talk to Danny Barrett, and who is the running backs coach. He's the running backs coach and the assistant head coach. And I had seen him earlier that day. And I said, man, you got a really good problem. You got a really good problem. You got a lot of talent in that running back room. It's going to be a lot of competition. He said, Sarge, that's a good problem to have. And then when I talked to him in the interview, I brought that back up, and we talked about the amount of talent that they do have in that running back room. And at that time, of course, him and I talking and phrasing the question, it was, I didn't think I would have to preface it with, if, without Joe Mixon starting, because at that time, you're not even thinking that there's any possibility that Joe would be out for an extended period of time. And now this news drops. Now we get this news. So we're going to see. Like I said, I wanted to come on here and I wanted to talk with you all and give you all uh the news. If you hadn't seen it, or if you had, I just want to tell you how I feel, my immediate reaction on how this will impact the Houston Texans. All right, let me read a couple of comments, then I got to get out of here, y'all. Vegas said that's on the text. Everyone told him to draft a running back even before we knew about Joe Mixon's injury. Just off his age alone, the Texans should have drafted a running back. Well, they got Woody Marks, so I think Woody Marks is going to be. Could have been doing personal workouts. Most think NFL lists is due to something stupid outside of football. Of course, that's what happened to Christian Harris. He overtrained. Did the Texans know Mixon wasn't going to be ready for the season? Wasn't going to be ready for the season opener before they signed Chubb. They just knew. Hey, now what's up, Marcus? How you doing? They just knew that he wasn't. They just knew that he was injured. I don't know if they knew the severity And what I mean by the severity, you know, the doctor has their opinions, but then they also got to listen to the player. So if the doctor says, "Hey, such and such and such and such," and then they ask Joe, because different people have different pain tolerances. Different people heal different ways. One of Marcus, well, you may not know this, but one of my running jokes, on here is that Adrian Peterson is the real Black Panther. He does have vibranium in his system because of the way he's able to heal from an injury just that quick. And so I don't know. Joe Mixon may have had could have a high pain tolerance, and he could have been telling him one thing, and the doctors tell him another, and now it's left up to them to make that decision. Maybe Nick Chubb was brought in here as insurance or a backup plan. And remember now, you know, Nick Chubb wanted to be here too. So, uh, what does Brandon say? Seems worse when you realize how long he has already been spotted in a boot. Exactly. What's going on, y'all? I see that. Let me see what my guy believes Mixon caught an opposite side to original comp- compensatory HAS, but when you hear frustrating foot injury, the most often is going to be Jones fracture or a midfoot sprain. Okay. Larry Payton says Woody Marks could emerge as an early contributor. And Larry, I listen. You know me, I'm high on Woody Marks as well because of his running ability and not only his running style, but his ability to catch out of the backfield. We just need to see once the pads come on what he looks like in pass protection. Remember when we were narrowly beat out on the bidding for Saquon? Yeah. Plus, I think people knew that story. I spoke about it last season after Saquon signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. Because I think I was in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine, and during this time before he signed with the Eagles, and the Houston Texans were very, 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 very high on his list. One of the main factors of Saquon Barkley signing with the Eagles and not coming to Houston was because he's from that area and his family would be able to see him play. There's a better opportunity for his family to see him play home games there than it would be if he had came to Houston. Of course, his money would have stretched and went longer here because of no state tax, but some people, the money doesn't matter to them as much as having family around and having that support. And so by him being from, on the East Coast and being from that area, that's how the Houston Texans got beat out for Saquon Barkley. Yeah, I would like to see what Jawar Jordan brings to the table as well. Quad strain is problematic. Grade 1 up to 2 weeks. Grade 2 up to 6 to 8 weeks. Uh, what's up with the Houston sports medical staff, especially with the Astros? I've always been told football 60-40, 60% mental, 40% physical, especially on the defense and running backs. Mixon misses 5 games if he returns by October 19th. That's a lot of games to miss. I feel Joe Mixon could be out 3 weeks of the start of the regular season. Yeah. JB Allen, the annihilator, says, well, that's why I was big on Nick Chubb signing, and now he's put up a shut up time for Pierce. Who told you that? Word on the street is Jaden Higgins can't get separation. We'll talk about that on the Texans Happy Hour. Come back for the Texans Happy Hour. Make sure you join. Saquon Barkley would have had a similar season to Joe Mixon because how bad the O line was. Yeah. Almost anyone can take or give a hit physically, but can you mentally take or give a hit? Hey, this is true. This is true. All right, y'all. I gotta get ready to get up out of here. I got some things that I need to do. We have an event that we have to go to tonight. My wife and I, with my wife's side of the family, but I need to get off of here and do what I need to do and eat. Definitely need to eat, and then come back for the Texans happy hour. That will be a little bit later on. I'll come back for the Texans happy hour because we do have some. We actually have some things that we need to discuss from day 4 of the Houston Texans training camp. There are some things that went on that we're just gonna see. We're just gonna see. Yeah, it's a eerie. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's a eerie feeling that I'm getting, and uh, it's too early. It's too early for me to give you a true assessment or evaluation, and that's why I asked D'Amico Ryans about the fundamentals and putting the pads on and things like that at the press conference today. But uh there's too many similarities from last season and last training camp that I'm seeing too early, that I'm seeing entirely too early, that they got to get those things fixed and fixed quickly, very quickly. But we'll talk about that on the Texas Happy Hour. I want to just make sure that um hold on. Or could Mixon be out into the bye week? I'm gonna find out. We'll try to find out today, but if not, it may not be until Monday. And then injuries are always a factor, and Texas needs some luck this season. Hey, by the time I will be on KPRC Channel 2 Sports Sunday with Randy McElvoy and Aaron Wilson on Sunday night, and maybe by Sunday night we'll have some more information and some more news. Make sure if you're in Houston and surrounding areas, watch KPRC Channel 2 News. That's the NBC station. And then if you're online, I think you can watch it on Click to Houston. But that will probably lead the show, and that'll probably that'll probably lead the show, and we'll be able to talk about it a little bit more. Uh, Larry, I'm thinking more 4:30 ish because the thing starts at 7. So if I can come on 4:30, I can give you all a good hour and a half before I have to leave up out of here. My wife is punctual and I'm punctual as well. So when it's time to go, when I be like, hey, I gotta go, I have to go. We don't like to get places. We don't like to get to places at the time we're supposed to be. We like to be there a little bit early, give ourselves some leeway just in case it's gonna be traffic. We'll never know what's gonna happen. So I'm gonna try to make it 4:30, come back and so we can talk about it. But I just want to make sure, if those of you all who are just joining me, I'm about to get off of this live stream right now. But before I go, Joe Mixon, Ian Rappaport has reported that 2024 Pro Bowler, Houston Texan running back Joe Mixon will be out an extended period of time. He already started training camp. They put him on the non-football injury list on Wednesday. And D'Amico Ryans did not have any updated information for us. All he said is that he was placed on that list, and he will, you know, he'll give us more details when they get him. And so, with Joe Mixon being out, you're gonna have to see how is this offense gonna get itself going, and who emerges as the number one running back, because we like to think by default it's going to be Nick Chubb, but it could be Woody Marks. It could be Woody Marks. And so yeah. I gotta get, it's been 4 days of practice. I haven't heard about Jaden Higgins making one play. I'll talk about that on the happy hour. Come back for the happy hour. This is strictly for Joe Mixon. This is strictly for Joe Mixon news that just broke. We can talk about that, you know. We'll talk about that on the happy hour, because I also want to be like, he's a rookie. He got 4 NFL practices, true NFL practices under his belt. 4. 4. It's been 4 days of practice and haven't heard about Jaden Higgins making one play. Okay, I'm gonna address this because now I want to clip this up. Cities 171. Don't take this personal because it's not personal. I am not taking shots at you at all. Period. I want to preface my statement by saying that. But so I'm okay. So it's been about 4 days of practice and haven't heard about Jaden Higgins. All right. Side note from the Joe Mixon stuff, y'all. Give me 1 second. Side note from the Joe Mixon stuff. The Texans have a first team all pro cornerback on their defense. The Texans have a future all pro cornerback in the making in Kamari Lassiter. And you expect when Jaden Higgins runs with the ones, you expect when Jaden Higgins run with the ones, you think he's gonna beat Derek? This is not a personal shot. Please don't take this the wrong way. I'm asking. You think he's gonna beat Derek, or you think he's gonna beat Kamari? You think Kamari's about to let a rookie beat him like that? Jaden Higgins got 4 NFL practices under his belt. That's all. But we'll address that a little bit more. We'll address that a little bit more. It's Houston. That's always traffic. Exactly. Yeah, Glenn. Happy hour will be 4:30. I'll be back at happy hour 4:30. That's the equivalent of saying you've been a doctor 4 days and haven't performed a surgery yet. Take it easy. Tell you hilarious. All right, y'all. I got to get ready to get up out of here. Make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Make sure you're subscribed to the Texans Tailgate Talk podcast and YouTube channel, all one word, Texans Tailgate Talk podcast and YouTube channel, all one word. Follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end because you know we do everything for the gram. I will see you at 4:30 for happy hour because we got to talk about the Tank Dell sighting, right? Like we can't talk about day 4 observations without talking about Tank Dell being at practice. I had an opportunity to ask Kyle and Hannah McNair about that too. Pretty interesting. Big Sarge. I'm out.
Big sauce. Yes, sir.